Welcome to the Tea with Martha, where we spill the tea on the untold truths and real struggles of entrepreneurship. I'm Martha Pachow, a fellow business owner who's learned the ins and outs of business the hard way. Get ready for unfiltered discussions on the highs, lows, and messy realities of entrepreneurship. It's time to spill the tea and vent it out with us.
Welcome back to another episode of The Tea with Martha. Today, I have my sweet friend, Debbie from DSA HR Solutions, and she is the CEO and founder of this amazing HR company. And she has such a remarkable story that I am so excited to dive in. Debbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. It's such a treat to be on here, and I'm so thankful that our paths have crossed. I'm so excited about what you're doing and the value you're adding to entrepreneurs out there, and anyone that's really looking to up level their skill set. So thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my honor. So, Debbie, tell us a little bit of your story and how did you get started in HR? What propelled you to start this company? And spill the tea with us.
Okay, well, it wasn't an intentional thing. I worked for a company for 16 years and they were Scientologists. And I had worked my way up from being a receptionist to the executive assistant. I was basically the right-hand woman, so to speak. And at the time I was a single mom and they were paying for me to go to their quote unquote classes. And I always thought, wow, this is really cool. Somebody's investing in me and paying for me to go take classes. Well, the classes were like a way to inoculate me into Scientology. And they start off pretty mellow. You go to a communication class or, different things like that seem innocent enough. But then eventually after a couple of years, there's a level in Scientology where you're required to renounce Jesus if you believe in Jesus. And I refused to do that. And so that kind of created some stress and tension between me and my boss. And then one of my coworkers, they started trying to recruit her. And I just shared with her, since she was my friend, like, this is what they believe. So don't wait 3 years to find out, you should know now. And she said, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to do this. She called me like, they won't let me leave, come save me. And so the next day when I went in, I was demoted from basically being the top level manager in my own beautiful suite to a cubicle. And my boss said, you know what? You're demoted, blah, blah, blah. And they tried to slap me with a harassment claim, saying that I harassed my employee because I told her what they really believed. So I let him know that that's against the law. You cannot discriminate against someone based on their religion. And he said, well, I don't care. I have the right to work with whoever I want to. So that was my first, oh my gosh, this is not right. And so long story short, they ended up paying for my education to study human resources because I really wanted to make sure that what happened to me didn't happen to other people. And so it ignited this fire in me to find justice and make sure that other people weren't hurt the way I was.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so that's kind of what ignited it. But fast forward, I realized that a lot of the people that take advantage are actually the employees and not the employers. Like that just happened to be a one-off. So it's not typically like that. So that's kind of what just got the fire going, is that trying to help the people that can't help themselves kind of thing.
Right. Very interesting. So after that experience, you decided, I'm going to start doing this as a service. I'm going to open my own company and I'm going to take what I've learned and apply it. Is that kind of how that DSA got started?
It kind of started with me getting just a 9-to-5 job in HR. I had 2 jobs. I was a single mother for 18 years. So I was always juggling a couple jobs. and just working in HR, trying to get an idea of what kind of real life issues come up. And that's when I really started to see that most of the issues are the employees taking advantage of the employer and not the other way around. But then
Oh, ironic.
isn't it?
Yeah.
But because I had such a personal experience on the other end, I had this
Mhm.
perception that all employers were like that, when now I know they're not.
Mhm.
So I did end up working for a company that was very similar to mine. And I told my husband, I think I could do this. My boss at the time was not ethical. Like, she only wanted to do things based on money and not what was best for the client. And sometimes she would yell at us and that, I don't make that much money on that product. Why are you selling it? And that kind of thing. And so I just started to get an uneasiness. And so I told my husband about 10 years ago, I think I could do this. It could be scary, but if it doesn't work out, I'll just get a job. Because usually back then you can get an HR job super easy.
Mhm.
But I just, I took a leap of faith and just prayed. And within 3 months, I had gone to 6 figures. And then I
Wow.
like, oh my gosh, I need to hire an employee because I can't do this all myself. And then it's just kind of organically grown, just little by little. So
Wow.
that's kind of how it all got started.
So you started 10 years ago. Is
Mhm.
that what
Yes.
and tell us a little bit about your offerings and what you guys do, and how many staff members do you have now and all of that good stuff.
Yeah. So we are an HR outsourcing company. So what that means is we are a partner with organizations that need HR, but don't necessarily need a full-time HR manager
Mhm.
or don't have the budget. We're not an HR consultant where you call up because you have you have a Band-Aid, you need a Band-Aid, or we're more strategic, proactive. So we come alongside you. We do HR assessments when we first meet to get everybody compliant. We put together a roadmap. Right now, everyone's really about culture and wanting to have a good culture. So we do,
Mhm.
employee surveys to get a pulse on them. And then we make recommendations on how to elevate their culture.
I love this.
We do a lot of coaching for CEOs, one-on-one, a lot of leadership training, because there's an epidemic of managers being promoted because they're very good workers, but they don't have the skill set to manage
Yes.
people. And it's like a whole other job.
Mhm.
So
I can relate to that in my organization.
yes. So we've been doing a ton of that. And it really is, I think, one of the most rewarding parts of what we do is just taking a new manager, like a buddy to boss type of thing, and then just watching him flourish to new heights. It's been really good, been really nice. And one of the things with my company, or our company, I don't even say my company, our company, is we're very work-life balance. And part of that is in our mission statement, because I was a single mom for 18 years. I had to work 2 jobs. So I missed a lot of the firsts for my daughter, and I would be so sad. And the babysitter would say, oh, she did this or she did that. And I don't want my employees to ever have to miss a first. So I'm very work-life balance. So I tell my team, like, if you want to check emails from the line at Disneyland, or, I don't care. As long as the clients are happy, I'm happy. So I'm not the stickler, like, you have to be in the office between 8 to 5. And, if you want to go in the office, go in the office. If you don't want to go in the office, don't go in the office. So to me, that was very important as a boss. They call me boss, but, but for everyone to have a good work-life balance. I don't think anyone should have to miss out on special memories with their children if they can, can avoid.
Manage it. Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. I love that. So in building an HR company, I as I've built my company, I think right now, and historically speaking,
Mhm.
HR is kind of a really complex department. And like, to your point, Mike, a lot of my managers, and in my world, we call them school directors. And so they manage each school site,
Mhm.
and there's an assistant director. And they're more often than not have been promoted from within because they're a really good leader or a mentor teacher, or, they've showed these leadership abilities, and then we train them in the office lingo and the day-to-day what happens in the office operations, and they have to do this, and you have to documentation and answering phones, and how do you do a tour, all the operations.
Yeah.
But what I found, which was what you just said, was that leadership, that when you are good at one task, doesn't always translate into supervising and guiding people, and that is the hardest job. That is the hardest, that's the biggest feedback we get is it's really hard to hold people accountable, have hard conversations, not show up as a mean person. And there's all these nuances. How have you been able to help other companies, and when you're not internally involved, what are the biggest success? Because I think it's like you said, it's like a phenomenon now. Like we're all doing that. It's hard to hire. People want upward movement. So when they're good at something, we want to give opportunities, but we also need to equip them with the right skills. So how do you do that, and how have you done that successfully?
So one of the things that we do all the time with our trainings is we teach them that it's okay to not know the answer. You just need to know where to go to get the answer. Like a lot of new managers put pressure on themselves thinking, oh, I have to know everything now because I'm a manager, but it's not true. And so we really try to help them understand they don't have to try to pretend, and what they don't know, that's what we're here for. So, a lot of it is when we do our trainings, we don't want them just to be informational where you just go step one, do this, step two. It's transformational. So we get into the emotion of it and like, look, this is awkward. Nobody wants to have this conversation. But the more you do it and repeat it, the easier it becomes. And so for us, we prefer if a manager has a difficult conversation, we'll say, hey, well, give us a call. We'll role play, and until they get comfortable saying it. And then after a while, they're like, oh, easy peasy. They think about it more than it actually is, So, and then empathy, we really talk a lot about empathy. And if you just give your employees empathy, even if you have to talk about something that's not good, their performance, it's your approach. It's not what you say, but if you can just be like, hey, Joe, help me understand, like, what's going on? Why are you having trouble coming to work on time?
Yeah.
That versus, okay, I'm writing you up because you haven't been here. You have to be collaborative. You have to make employees feel valued, and, just follow your policies. If your employee's not following policies, all a manager has to do is pull out the handbook and say, hey, sorry, it's my job to make sure you follow this. If I don't do this, I get in trouble. So help me do my job. So if you keep it very collaborative. The other thing that we've discovered with this, though, Martha, is that a lot of managers don't understand how to be empathetic. They confuse that with sympathetic. And, so we try to really get them to understand it's
so good
thing. And most of us, and not everybody, was raised with an empathetic parent. So you're not going to automatically know how to do it, And so once we can get to that, because that's such a crucial part in managing, it's just being able to be empathetic. It doesn't mean you agree with them, but you want to be, you approach them totally differently. And, but most of the time it's like both parents were either working or there was only one parent, so they never learned that skill set. And once they learn that, there's like a light bulb that goes on, and their job just becomes so much easier. When
One thing you said earlier on was, you thought you were going in because you thought employers were taking advantage of employees. And what you found is a little bit more of the opposite end of that, where it's employees taking advantage of employers. How do you, like what you just said, that empathy? I know, like for me personally, and a lot of my leadership team and the managers on site, they feel it's hard when you want to set the boundary, you want to help, help me help you. How can we collaborate? Should we schedule you at a later time to ensure, because this is what's, the ripple effect of you not showing up is this, that, and the other, and it's not fair to the other people. You're trying to be empathetic. How do you go from that to holding people accountable? Because they do take advantage, they do work the system. They do, being in business, 17 years, I can probably write a book on all the HR stories. And we mean well. I know, in childcare, it's a very heart-centered business. We're here to provide care. We love on the children. We rely 1,000% on our staff because we need them to operate the day to day. And we have such a high call out rate, high turnover rate. And so I find that my managers have a hard time holding accountable because they're afraid of the retaliation of the employee. They hold, sometimes they hold kind of the keys to the kingdom because they know we need them. And so it's this tug of war of empathy, but also accountability. And I don't know, it's the $1 million question in my industry. I can tell you that, and all my colleagues that own schools, we're all struggling with the same issues. What do you do in that case?
So, I mean, again, it is super important to be empathetic towards everyone, but as part of that, you have to be consistent. So you have to be empathetic towards the rest of your employees. So if you have one that is just not showing up, and that's not the one that you want to be empathetic towards if they're just slacking off, because everybody else sees it and it's going to destroy morale.
Yes.
And you're going to have more and more turnover because it's going to make employees feel like, well, here I am busting my butt to get things done. I show up all the time. This person's over here coming and going when they please, and nothing's happening to them. And maybe they are getting disciplined, but employees
don't see that.
They don't see that, but that's what they think, And so I think it's super important. We have a lot of clients that have been in that situation where they're letting the employees run the show because they're so afraid that if they quit,
gonna do now.
But what we have found is they actually end up stepping up because they're being held accountable. And a lot of it is.
A lot of it is like their kids. Sometimes I say that, kids, they will never tell you they want a boundary, but they really do. That's when kids thrive. And either two things will happen. They'll either align with the expectation or they bow out, and either way you want either one to happen. But it's hard teaching that skill. It takes a while. It's a learned skill, and it's like a muscle. You got to work at it. And it's hard. It's hard because a lot of our managers, like I said, are promoted great teachers, great mentor teachers, or great, at the caregiving side. When it comes to, as it relates to being a supervisor, it's a whole other skill set.
It is. And, a lot of them don't understand their authority that they have. So we were working with a client yesterday. He's a new manager. And he forwarded an email to me, and his employee said, "Oh, I'm just want you to know I'm taking off next week." And his response was like, "Oh, well, let me see." And it was almost like she was the manager and he was, So I was like, "Oh, he doesn't know his authority." And so, and that's common, like you have the authority. So it's really, again, helping them understand like they have authority now and how that works. And really not to make any decisions out of fear. A lot of businesses that make mistakes do it out of fear.
Yes.
And I, myself included, I've hired people out of fear because we were so busy and I felt like, oh my gosh, I need bodies and this person's just okay, but oh well, they're breathing. And of course it was a terrible hire. I didn't pray about it. I was like doing it all in my own strength. And so I've learned that, that Debbie, it's, you don't have to make a decision now. You have to pray about everything, because everything I do is like, okay, God, what do you want me to do today? What, who do you want me to see? Who are you going to bring in? Who are you going to remove? and just be obedient to that, and so sometimes God allows us to make mistakes just so we can learn from them.
100%. That was so good. I mean, I think back to the fear-driven decisions and hires, or even holding on to people that you really are, they're kind of bringing down morale, and just, in your heart that is not, and it's out of fear because you think, well, what am I going to do? Right? Like, we need that person who's going to complete their task until I bring someone else in. And it's really trusting that the right people will come at the right time. It's so powerful to know that we can we can pray and we can also act, right? We're going to pray about it, but also take action on the hard decisions. Like, okay, if this person is not working, we will figure it out, but let's make the hard decision so that we can move on. I think often we rob ourselves of better because we're holding on to
100%
mediocre,
right? We're holding on to good instead of God's best or greatest, right? And it's so ironic this came up because I did on Monday have to let somebody go. She kind of misrepresented her level of HR, and she was just creating a lot of extra work for my team, but I am having to do damage control because there was a lot of stuff that didn't get done, and which is fine because I know it's just temporary and this too shall pass. And I have a great team of ladies that can help me fill in. But I've said it gets really stressful. One of the things I have to say is, as a business owner, you have to be able to tolerate a level of stress that most humans, like, it would just wreck most people, because you never know. Like, you never know when you're going to have to suddenly pivot because something happened, and I've learned to kind of ride that roller coaster and make sure that I do take time to really rejuvenate and rest and, get myself some quiet time with God, because I need to, like, get my cup refilled. I can't give to my team. I can't give to my clients. I can't give to my husband. I can't give to my family when I just have no margin, and I used to be like a go, 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 go. And now I'm like, okay, every Monday, I call it Monday Me Day. I do more like strategy stuff. I don't put on any makeup. I'm just like in my PJs all day and don't have to talk to anybody. Just, just really me and the Lord, and just kind of visualizing different things. And it's really helped me, it's really helped me stay more focused, have my focus days, and then have my rest days. So
I love that. That is so critical. My husband and I were talking about this. He owns a few businesses. One of his businesses, he had promoted one of his employees. And so in this structure of partnership, but it's been really hard. There's a lot of resistance there because they're essentially partners, but this person is acting like an employee, right? To your point of, it's really hard to be a business owner. So, and I mean this with all the, the care, because I have an amazing team. So it's not related to my team, but when it comes to really hard stuff, he's on the field, he's the field guy, and it's hot. We're in Arizona. And so, but there's things that need to happen that are part of the business ownership and partnership, right? Like, there's back end things. And he's like, I can't do it. I'm tired. I'm sorry. I can't do it. Like, I've been out all day. And my husband's like, I get it, but this is part of that business owner duties. And this is part of the partnership. And so it's really hard to, to be a business owner. I think people think it's easy, and it's an extreme level of stress, and there's seasons. And when you're getting going, it's extreme. It's like brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal, but making it on the other side, and then, building your team so that you can create and serve. And then sometimes you have to pivot. Like you said, it's a nonstop thing. I've built teams and then I've lost people, or I've had to let go of people. And then that, sucks me back in. And, there's just seasons, and it's okay. It's part of the journey. But yeah, HR is such a thing. People problems are just
Yeah.
a normal thing in business, you know?
Yeah. And you know, just that situation with your husband is pretty common, actually. I just was on the phone yesterday with one of our clients and their partners, and one's in the field all the time, one's in the office, and you know, things are just not getting done. So I've been doing a lot of mediation with them. And so they decided to outsource some of the tasks so that they do get done. So that's their current situation. So there's always, I think it's always a good idea to bring somebody in like us
Mhm.
that has seen various types of businesses that have similar situations, just different industry, and what has worked, you know, because you
Mm,
don't know what you don't know. And
right.
I think it's always helpful to bring in another set of eyes. I mean, for any business, any situation, you know, whether you need help with marketing or help with your operations, you know, I always say,
Absolutely.
you know, delegate to elevate, you know, and that's
Yeah.
what and that's why our clients hire us, because they're like, okay, I'm tired of trying to do HR myself. So,
Yeah. I think I need to hire you.
okay.
When I'm listening to this and I'm like, my director of ops is like, I think we need a new HR. And we had somebody and then we fractional and then we thought we could do it. And she's like, this is overwhelming. It's taking so much of my time, you know, the
Yeah.
benefits and the this and all the paperwork and mediation and situations. And we're like, yeah,
Mhm.
you know, it's like those things that you think, oh, I'll take care of it. And it's so much meatier than you anticipated.
Yes.
And I also, because it is a touchy subject when it relates to people, you know, relationships, it is so valuable to have an outside person. It's because they feel comfortable, both parties can feel comfortable knowing, hey, they're not going to retaliate against me, or they're not going to use it against me eventually, or she's not going to go tell, you know, because it happens, it's happened in the past. So I love what you do. I think the work that you're doing is immeasurably impactful because as a business owner, I mean, you're a business owner as well, but as a business owner with a lot of people, you know, we have a lot over 150 people on staff. That's 99% of them are women. We'll just leave that there. There's a lot
Mhm.
of different ideas and emotions, you know, and we're
Mhm.
powerful, but at the same time, it's complex. It's very complex. So my hat's off to you. So
Yeah.
any last thoughts that you'd like to leave our listeners with, Debbie, in terms of HR or of your, you know, your CEO journey? Um,
Yeah. I mean, I believe that, you know, if anyone is an HR professional or interested in HR, it's something that you really have to be passionate about. Don't go into it because it's a job, because it takes a special kind of crazy to love HR. And, you know, it's so stressful, but so rewarding. And, you know, for any business owners out there that have managers, you know, or new managers, don't put the pressure on yourself to expect to know everything. It's okay not to
mm,
know.
mhm,
No one expects you to automatically have the skill set because you were a good individual contributor. Um, Taking that pressure off yourself and just getting the resources so that you can become a better version of yourself. You know, we all started um, as babies, you know, and we learn from our mistakes. And if you've never made a mistake, then you probably never tried. So,
yes.
you know, I think just praying about it and being obedient to what you feel like God is calling you to. And sometimes it doesn't make sense, you know, sometimes you're like, oh no, I don't want to do that. But you do it anyways, and then you see the fruit of it, right? So um I think that, you know, that's the biggest thing for managers is just, you know, or for anybody, you know, anybody that has a desire to become that thing, just get educated, learn, get a good support system where you can bounce ideas off of each other. You know, the mastermind that we joined, I feel like I got 10 times smarter just from talking to all the ladies in the group, you know?
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know, surrounding yourself with the people that are doing what you want to do and just, you
Mhm.
know, people that are going to call you higher and, you know, join a mastermind or a mentoring group or, you know, whatever that thing is. But
Absolutely. So important at every level, at, you know, the startup level, or if you are part of an organization, you know, if you are a manager, supervisor, or aspiring to be one, you know, it's understanding that we all need that support. We don't know, not all of us
Mhm.
know everything. I've never done this job. I've never scaled a company to this size. I'm still learning, right? Like this is why I'm such a lifelong learner, because I've never done this thing I'm trying to do. And so it's a never ending learning journey. So start somewhere, get scrappy. There's so much information online that's basically free. There's local resources. I mean, you just have to look and want it and put yourself out there and do the uncomfortable, ask for help.
And just start.
You got to start. Sometimes your company might offer it and sometimes they won't, but investing in yourself, regardless of if you're the company or if you work for a company, you can always reach out and get support and get help so that you can excel and shine and show up your best self. I mean, I think that's sometimes as employers, we think we have to do everything for our staff, but it's also initiative from our team members. And, I know I love that. I'm like, wow, they're doing this or they want to go to here. I'm like, great. Yeah, we'll support that. It's amazing. That's the thing. I would run from an organization if they're not happy about growth, if they're not happy for you, if you're seeking to learn.
Right. You want to empower them.
Yes. Well, this has been great, Debbie. Thank you so much for your time. Where can our listeners find you?
So our website is dsaHRsolutions.com. We are also on LinkedIn and YouTube coming soon. So stay tuned for that.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. Any last closing thoughts before we sign off?
Just thank you, thank you to you and your listeners. And I love, what you have created here and the space you've created. And, if anybody needs anything, if you need anything, if your husband needs anything, please feel free to reach out and, I'd be happy to help.
Thanks. I sure will be reaching out. Well, this has been great. If you have liked the show, please go follow my friend Debbie, check them out, and we'll link all her information in the description. And thanks for listening to another episode of The Tea with Martha. Until next time.
Thank you so much for joining me on another episode. If you're struggling to find your flow in juggling all the things that go into building and scaling your dreams, while also being present for your family and finding time to take care of you, I want to invite you to join my free 21-day challenge, Tame the Chaos. You'll get my tried and true time management workbook designed to help you become a master at organizing and prioritizing how you spend your time. Plus, I'm going to walk you through a daily exercise that will transform chaos into clarity and keep you on track to creating momentum towards your goals. I personally use this method myself, and it is a vital key to my success over the years. Please visit marthapachow.com/tamethechaos to register for the challenge now and get instant access to the workbook. And if you've enjoyed today's tea, make sure to follow, rate, and leave a review. Stay connected with us on social media at The Tea with Martha for updates and behind-the-scenes moments. Remember, every woman's story is a sip of inspiration, and together we're brewing success. This is Martha signing off. Cheers.